This is the Reality Checkmate podcast.
Two reality nerds who break down stratagem and psyche. All right, I'm Garrett, and Brittany is not here. She's had some family stuff come up, so please think of her, keep her in your thoughts. And anyway, we'll just go with it for now. Hopefully she can join me in the future. So it'll be less a discussion this time and more just talking through what happened in this episode. So again, we are going over the Traitors US Season 4, Episode 2. And let's get into it. All right, so the Traitors, we start off with the Traitors who are going over who they want to choose out of the three that they had to choose from. They give some pretty interesting reasoning for Ian. They talk about maybe taking one of the gamers out. He's smart, capable of causing some damage. Mark, because it seems random. He's nice, maybe put people on edge. And a similar-ish reason for Eric. They acknowledge that he's very smart but a low-key person. And so maybe that might make people confused about why. And of course, all of that to kind of make us wonder who they're going to choose. They do end up, of course, choosing Ian. Unfortunately, neither of us saw that coming. But it does make sense to take out one of the gamers. They talk later about, keeping the scent off of them. And, he's so smart in the game, a genius, they said, and needed to keep non-threats in the game. So definitely going to miss Ian. He did not have a lot of time there. He did say there at the end, he knew he had a feeling that it was going to happen and that didn't know what he could have done differently, but it's the biggest backhanded compliment of the game. And in a way it is to get murdered, especially first like that. He, like he said, was there a way for him to have played this differently to stay in the game? I think not necessarily. He, of course, could have been a traitor or tried to be played as a traitor, but I don't think that the way that he was going about it, about being a faithful, was the best for his game in the long run, because people know of him and not how smart he was. He wasn't an aggressive faithful. He was kind of trying to be under the radar a little bit. But it also didn't seem, or we didn't see a lot of him making any moves or calling out people, probably to try to keep the scent off of him, but also maybe not enough to... it's hard because he probably didn't know who the traitor or the secret traitors were either. And he was trying to figure all that out and not being able to know that, not being able to maybe put something, get out there, maybe people who aren't the traitor or getting people mad at him like some of the other people are doing as part of their response, maybe have been a way to keep himself in the game, or at least keep him from getting murdered, but may not have kept him from banishment. So hard to say, but that was interesting. They did at breakfast the next morning, they do bring up, we were wondering if it would come up, about the whole Portia and Candace and Michael situation, and they do talk about it. And Portia talked about how, she'd already forgotten about it, which is fair. Maybe she probably should have thought a little bit harder about it with Candace, but she says, let's not target big personalities, which was funny and great. And I loved Johnny's calling it the Kituation. Great term coinage there. And anyway, they didn't really get to explore more as more people came in. Dorinda made it to her first breakfast. Yay! She was so excited. And Donna is playing this in an interesting way. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but She does seem to be saying things that a faithful would say, so evidence that she's a secret traitor, maybe not so much. She is looking down a lot and being quiet, so maybe that's how she's playing it as a secret traitor, trying to stay on the radar, but I still don't see it. As she's definitely, fangirling about all these people. Rob C talks about how he feels like Jam Jam is throwing him under the bus. I didn't really see any of that, or at least we didn't see it in the show itself. Maybe it's just some comments that he's getting from him that we're not seeing. But it does, of course, keep me suspicious about Jam Jam as a secret traitor. Then once we find out that it's Ian that is left, Tiffany's speaking up and saying she wants to speak on Ian's behalf. Came across as very strange to me, as well as, of course, weird to Colton, as well as he said. Love the moment where Monet says, I wanted to Rob R to throw me. Did a good chuckle there. Love it when we get the comic relief. And Rob R talks about how he thinks that Michael may be a secret traitor because he keeps throwing names out. Could be a reason, right? Could be what a secret traitor would do. I think it's a little bit too much, and maybe he's playing it that way. We do have some commentary later about that in the round table banishment ceremony, so maybe that's part of it, but part of how he's playing it if he is a secret traitor. But honestly, it doesn't really seem like that would be the way to go. Okay, so there is, discussion going on. I did find it very strange when Portia said that, he's the one I killed. Not sure why she said that. I can't come up with anything except maybe just terminology, or maybe taking it to heart. We hear later, if we, talk about in the round table or later where she's kind of defending herself, that it was because she's trying to put herself in the traitor's shoes, which is maybe a good thing to do, but yeah, you definitely need to do that, but also then bring it back when you're talking to people and talk about it, as a faithful, because obviously she is a faithful. Also interesting how Donna's playing it. Tiffany calls out how someone who is confident they're not going to get murdered would not want to make friends, which maybe it could be a valid point. I don't really see that, though. I see it more as because you can always get banished, right? So I think thinking of one and not the other is a tough way to go. Then the lifeless after the blindfolds, and she changed from Colton, all of that, very interesting. And signs, that people are trying to use to determine who they're going to vote for. I did notice Michael talked about not knowing that there's going to be voting happening. So I wonder, is he not a fan of this show? Has he not seen it before? Or maybe he just didn't know the timing of it. Maybe that's what he meant. But it seems odd. He is playing this game in a totally different way than most people would play it or have played it, as a faithful or even as a secret traitor, if that's the case. And that could be a reason why that he hasn't really watched it before. Portia then made another verbal mistake with the, if we kill a faithful, a banished. I think in that sense, that specific instance, she's probably meaning, banished, because she talked about banishment. Just the terminology of, banishing versus killing. Which, to be fair, is an honest mistake in that case, right? You can think of it as killing an innocent, or killing someone at banishment, even though that's not technically what you're doing. And then, of course, Ron is starting to collect more and more evidence from Portia, this terminology stuff, and then we'll get more into, into his arguments, but it all kind of makes sense from that point of view. Let's talk about the mission next. It was a fun mission, a lot of little twists and turns to it. We won't go over the specifics of it, but we do get a couple different interesting takes here on how people are playing the game as far as challenges versus, competition versus, getting protection and so forth. So the three who are in the chariot chairs first are Tiffany, Candace, and Caroline. And so those seemed useful. They were trying to go with smallerish people and to help pushing go better. And, it was pretty good. They didn't necessarily worry about being there at the end. Tiffany said she'd be, able to keep track of time very well, and she seemed to do good. They came in under their time limit. Candace talked about not having anybody ask her questions, which is also a good strategy in that case. Anyway, at the first stop, Monet finds a coin first and gives it to Lisa. And then Stephen also finds a coin and gives it to Dorinda. And Monet talked about how he did it because, didn't want people to resent them. And then Stephen about, how, that's how he was raised or whatever. But I think in addition to those, just not pointing a target on yourself like that was very interesting, or was a very good idea. And even though you probably wouldn't have stayed in the chair, it still puts a target on your back, makes people suspicious and also resentful of having to push you around. So definitely smart move on both of those points. Then at the next stop, Stephen finds another one, gives it to Carolyn this time. And so she gets a second shot in the chair. So that was good. And then on the third stop, we hear that I'm going to get the shield from someone. I'm not exactly sure. I tried to pause and see who was speaking, but it's hard to tell. Maybe Michael. But Colton had the plan the whole time to get it on the third stop and then get pushed the way to the end. And then he takes it from Lisa, and we hear him say that Lisa is on his list of potential traitors. And so that's why he did it, to keep her from being safe, but also to save himself. Seems like something that a faithful would say rather than a secret traitor to me. And I think Mara and Caroline hear him say that. At least that's what it seems like from the editing. And then Rob R finds a coin as well, and he gives it to Jam Jam, and says that he did it because puppy dog eyes, but also thinks that maybe Jam Jam's a secret traitor. And then he tells Mara, they're not going to kill you. Nobody's seeing you as a threat. She's not, of course, happy about it, very mad. But, and nobody is happy, pushing Colton and Ravar around in the chairs. But, that's how it goes. Michael was very upset, didn't get a chance to argue for himself on it. I don't know why he thought that would happen. It didn't seem to be a discussion anybody had, but that's what he did. And of course, bringing it up all over the place, you could tell people were getting a little annoyed with him. Didn't really help. Jam Jam, of course, made a great point about anybody who was in those chairs was going to be selfish, or it was a selfish move in all of the cases, no matter who got there. And Michael and Jam Jam seemed to have a little bit of a back and forth going, and a non-trust thing going. Again, Donna doesn't talk to the group at dinner. It won't give any names. This, too early. This comes across as very shady to Monet. I think she's being smart in a way to not go outside her group. However, because they're going to go with Portia, and she doesn't want to give that away or want Portia to know. Dorinda, argues against Donna as well, that she's talked to her, and that she doesn't know people, which I think was very smart. I mean, Dorinda is making some great connections in this game and some great points and ideas, thoughts about what is really happening. And then Portia also, when they're talking about Michael maybe being a traitor, she has some nice call-outs about why it couldn't be him, or probably isn't him, and traitors are probably doing it differently, or making him seem like it. And then Portia makes another verbal thing where she says there are 4 traitors. She says it very confidently, as opposed to likely 4 traitors. I don't know if that's actual if you've watched the show, you're going to think there's at least 3, probably 4, I would think. And so you probably just make an assumption. Now, in this case, her assumption is correct, and so that's why she's stating it so, well, that's not why she's stating it so confidently. She's stating it confidently because that's what she believes, and even though she doesn't necessarily know. So, easy mistake to make in that case. All right, then we get to Roundtable. And it does seem like Donna just doesn't fit in with people really well, and that she's an outsider, and that isn't working to her benefit for this game at this point. Hopefully she can turn that around and start making some alliances with other people outside of the group that she currently trusts. As this was happening, I had a question I was going to ask Brittany. What do you think it would be a good idea so I'll ask you instead, do you think it would be a good idea to speak up first, or would you speak up first if you were at the round table and a faithful or a traitor? Like, what is the strategy there? Why would you do one or the other? Why would you do it or not, depending on what you're trying to accomplish? In this case, we get Natalie, who starts, and she had said she's going to be an aggressive player, so definitely matched her game play style to what she was doing, being consistent there. Donna talks about, of course, she's low-hanging fruit and seems like the obvious choice because she doesn't really fit in or doesn't have anybody to have her back, and it is a valid point. Natalie then counters. It doesn't mean you're not a traitor, and both of these are valid points. The traitors, Secret Traitor traitors, are wanting other names to get out there to throw people off and not make it look like them. Now, we don't yet know who the Secret Traitor is, but we can assume that person is doing this as well. What names have been thrown out? Well, mostly Michael, Donna, and Portia we see. So, and we're pretty sure none of those are a Secret Traitor or a traitor. And so could be evidence or things we need to look for on who's throwing out the names of these fake names, and maybe do they have some ulterior motives. But Ron and his evidence, very convincing, and he presented it very well. His voice was shaking a little bit, I noticed, as he was talking, and I can imagine how rough this would be, or how problematic it would be, but definitely scary it would be, but definitely needed to be said, and he presented it in a great way. I did like that Portia, or I did think that she did okay with trying to defend herself. She seemed pretty calm and, gave her reasoning. Even if it wasn't the greatest reasoning, she might have been able to do a little bit better, maybe convince other people if she had a little bit more to go on. It's a tricky situation to be in, to have your name thrown out and to be accused. How do you prove that you're a faithful versus and not a traitor, right? In these cases, it comes down to what you're doing outside of the round table, I think. But it's all about perception in this game. So I did find it interesting, Candace telling Donna that you would have been a great traitor, but we don't get any reasons for that, like why would she have been a great traitor? And then Donna, it's very nice of you to say you would be too. I love that. Very talkative, very presentable, and also could be a little traitor deflection kind of situation going on. So maybe. And then, but, Ron talks about, bringing more than one piece of evidence that you're trying to decide on these things. And good point, Ron. And then Michael, I don't know what he was saying, why he said we got rid of Ian. I think it's because he just meant we as a group no longer have Ian, as opposed to taking credit for it. But yeah, definitely his lack of thinking before he speaks may have got his people's antenna up about who he might be. And he does, when he gets called out for it, he kind of loses it. He's definitely not the calm debater. And he's doing a lot of deflecting and kind of gaslighting in his defense of himself, and not going over well. I loved Eric pointing out, but is this useful information, about the, why, he's Jam and the whole shield situation, right? Like pointing out, this is useful information. And Michael seemed dumbfounded by that. Like he had not thought about the reasons people might choose something and what that could mean about who they are, what they're doing. And hopefully he does take that to heart in the next episode and maybe starts to think deeper about this, because obviously Eric is, which as they were saying in the tower, Eric, strong player, very smart. The Monet, also kudos for some amazing clarity and insight, even though I don't think it's correct on that the person was a secret traitor, but still great insight into why somebody might be doing something, and making good call outs. Okay, so then we get Jam, who is, of course, going after Michael. And the way that he's doing it makes me still suspicious about him as a secret traitor. He's saying things like very quiet, calm, maybe a little manipulative, like the whole, go for it, let's see what he says, right? Like Michael saying, call me over there. And it's hard to know. Would I do the same thing? Not sure. Then we see Ron whispering to the others to stick with Portia. And then Tiffany and Jam. Tiffany says she doesn't think Michael's a traitor, but they still, her and Jam both voted for Michael. So that was interesting. Kristen also joined in and said she didn't think it was she didn't vote for him, but those two did. So that's interesting. Observation, I think. We'll see what happens with that, and if there's any reasoning behind it other than just thinking he might be or not enjoying working with him, or just the way he's going about things. Michael makes a point, kind of a valid point, about voting to find traitors, not loudmouths or people who don't get along with, and that is definitely true. I think some of the voting, like I was just saying, and maybe happening that way, easily to do on banishments, the first couple at least, when you have really nothing else to go on. So I don't blame them, but Jam then also counters that there are traitors who play that way, and maybe one of them. Then we get the votes, and it goes, Michael gets 4, Donna gets 8, and Portia gets 10, and so she's the one banished. Neither of us saw that coming. I don't know, did you see that coming? I did, as part of the episode, just Portia was focused on a lot, and all the stuff that happened with Portia and Michael and Candace was focused a lot, so I could kind of see it coming during the episode, but I did not see that happening. I did notice, of course, Candace voted for Donna. We know that she knows Donna isn't. But then also Lisa and Rob R voted for Portia. And I found it interesting that Lisa went after a fellow housewife. And what will that do for Lisa's game? Will it affect how the other housewives view her? Will they not trust her anymore? And will that start putting a spotlight on Lisa that she may not have wanted to have? So in a way, good for Candace to vote for Donna, but Lisa maybe should have tried someone else or voting for someone else, just to keep the spotlight off her. And if she'd voted for Donna, it would have been a tie, which would have been interesting. But if she had voted for Michael, then it would have definitely still been Portia. But she may have not have had her hands as dirtied as they were or are now. Lots of talk to Michael about being, the boldest traitor this game has ever seen, or the worst faithful. But just that he's getting in the way of the discussions they need to have with how he's playing it. I do wonder as well, with Ron championing and presenting the evidence so well against Portia and being wrong, will that do anything to his game? I don't think so. I think everyone will have. He wasn't making up evidence. There were several people who witnessed the different things going on, and so hopefully it doesn't go back onto him. But I mean, he thinks it'll put a target on him. I don't necessarily think that. I think he'll be okay. Then we get to, of course, the evening and the murder in plain sight, with a bit of a twist this time. I enjoyed the shenanigans that went on with this twist. They learned that there are tarot cards, there's a short list of 4, that Candace, who apparently had a whole glass of wine before this, was a little confused about how to burn stuff, and maybe was a little confused about things going on because she didn't seem to be as involved in the selection of the murder. But in any case, the instructions were to find the cards, discuss with the fellow traitors who to murder, and then if unsuccessful, they would not murder that night, the secret traitor would. And then if they were successful, though, then they would get to meet the secret traitor the next night. Rob R, very chill about it. He did a good job at keeping his nerves in control and being sneaky enough, even though he was nervous. And the Conga line distraction and Candace's, it pays to be a little extra, was genius. It did seem very strange to me to choose to do something like that. I mean, first thing that came to her head, I guess, but a very odd thing to do unless you've done that kind of thing before. I guess the being a little extra maybe helped. But I found it interesting that many people joined in, but Rob C clocked it immediately. We do see him with Tiffany, and so maybe the worry we had before about alliances there, maybe not wanting to be seen. I think it may have been more not wanting to be seen than maybe him being a secret traitor. But he clocks it and he knows exactly what's happening. And I wonder now if he's going to be suspicious of Candace. Didn't seem to be. We didn't get any of that in this episode. But the food that they were sharing, like making sure he's not going to take a drink from anyone, staying out of the way of it. Very, very smart. Did not help him though. The short list was Monet, Rob C, Tara, and Kristen. This is a very different group than the first group of 4 that we got. They are all competitors in their own way, though. And so maybe the Secret Traitor is taking a clue from the other traitors who had, of course, gotten rid of Ian as a let's get out some gamers. If it is, I still think it's Jam Jam. A way of getting rid of some of the competition, fellow players who may be strategic, especially Rob C. So we also know that, of course, none of these 4 are going to be the Secret Traitor. So that narrows down our list a little bit more. Because I had thought maybe Rob C would make a great Secret Traitor, but obviously not him. And maybe Tara Lipinski. Got it. All right, so love the Rob R and Lisa playing chess, like teaching her chess as a way to talk among people without being suspicious or looking like you're having a secret conversation, but then they have a secret conversation. That was amazing. Great TV as well, and so fun to watch. Using the chess pieces to talk about who they might try to murder in plain sight. Then I do wonder who they chose. From the pieces and the moving, there's a lot of editing going on, so we don't know where the pieces were. It seemed like it could be Tara, from the one that he pointed out, the piece, and they kept showing her like watching them for a while and maybe being suspicious, or potentially Kristen out of the list. So my guess is that's who they chose. Tara was who they chose. But the instructions were that they were to discuss with fellow traitors who to murder, and we didn't see Candace being part of that discussion. So if they didn't all discuss it, will it still work? We know if they didn't get it in time, it wouldn't work, which they did. They were able to burn it, and of course Candace comes in after as they're leaving. Kind of crazy, the whole back and forth on that. But it was successfully burned, but they didn't all talk about it. So will that part of the instructions be held to? Personally, I think they should, and let the Secret Traitor murder as opposed to the one they chose, because that would make it great, crazy TV. But I think they'll let it go so that we all know who the Secret Traitor and they know who the Secret Traitor is. I think that's going to be what it is. But my prediction is that it won't work, and that the person who will be murdered is Rob C, not Rob R. Rob C. Because of the, let's get out gamers kind of thing. If the Secret Traitor gets to choose, seems like a good strategy than the other people. We get a commercial where next season regular people can play this game. So hopefully all of you who are listening, watching, are obviously diehards and maybe could be a great cast member. So go and do it. So that's who I that's who I'm looking for to happen. So it didn't work. Rob C gets murdered. The next banishment, I think, is going to be Michael. That's my guess, my prediction, because he's just too big, too loud, and too maybe frustrating for some of these players. So, still going with Jam Jam as the Secret Traitor. So that was episode 2. Want to hear what you have to think, what you have to say, especially since I don't have Brittany here to help guide the discussion and talk about it. Lots of strategy going on, lots of psyche, lots of thinking, lots of interactions. This looks to be a very strong group of players this year. So follow us on the socials, comment, like, subscribe, all the things. But let me know what you think and what your guesses are. And with that, let's checkmate.
Want to keep the conversation going? Join us on social media and tell us how you would play it.